So how much harder really is No Hope difficulty compared to Nightmare? This is something I'm really excited to talk about. I'm finally prepared to do so because we finally have numbers. Now, let's go ahead and just load into a 1-1 and I'll go into a little bit more of the details that you will immediately see when you load in your corruption cards. Oh my God, I'm so excited to talk about this. Sorry, I've just been waiting to talk about all this stuff. Because it's been out for like a week, but I wanted to make sure I got good numbers down. Now, let's go ahead and I'll just load in with whoever here. And immediately what you're going to see is I'm going to have all my cards right away. I just have a test deck here. This is either the HP deck or the singling out damage deck. And then some of the things you'll see right away is you get 2 variants of the common, which usually you only get 1. In Nightmare, you'll get like a Shambling or Sprinters, and then you'll get Charred or Blighted or Armored. In No Hope, you can get Charred and Armored, or Charred and Volatile, or Blighted and Charred, or what have you. So you'll get 2 variants of the common, which makes them even harder to deal with. Also, you get this fancy little card here on every single map called Boss Mutation. Also, fun little fact here, you'll get this Boss Mutation card on every map, but that doesn't mean a boss spawns on every map. One good example is 1-4. They used to have it so that a breaker or something could spawn on you in 1-4 when you're making the run to the boat, but they decided that was too mean and they took it out. I wish they kept it in, but you'll get a boss mutation almost every single level, so you better know how to take out your hags, your breakers, and your ogres in any scenario. And another thing you'll see is all my cards load in right away, and thank goodness they went ahead and made this whole transition much faster, considering you have 15 cards that you get to pick right away. And actually, I think if you start in Act 2 or 3, you get a couple of bonus cards, like health, stamina, ammo, or fortune, depending on what you want to pick. But what you'll see in the bottom left-hand corner right away is that I don't have an extra life. Another thing you'll notice right away is that you get all your team cards from your bots right away because they also start with their 15 cards. Okay? Something else to notice here. Now, this is a change overall, I'm pretty certain, is that team health, team ammo, team stamina are here all the time. But more importantly, for the No Hope side of things, nothing is on sale. In case you aren't familiar, there can be up to 3 sales going on with items in the shop. So what that means is the first aid could go on sale, the bandage could go on sale, the razor wire could go on sale. All 3 of them could, or sometimes they'll double up and a first aid kit will go on a double sale, and then you'll also get an ammo kit that has a sale. Anyway, disregard all of that, No Hope, because nothing goes on sale. It's always full price. Don't hold your breath. So get used to that side of things from an economy perspective. Now let me go ahead and take out Holly here. And if I go ahead and I take out Holly, she's done. She is not coming back. She is not going to respawn, because typically if you were to lose someone right here and you walk up here, what you'll see is they'll spawn over here somewhere on the walls over there. But that just does not happen in No Hope. There is no respawn pod. So if you lose your teammate, you better have a defib, man, because it's over. Also, lives don't recover. And what that means is if you die in Nightmare and then you get to the next safe room with your team, you'll get that little extra life back in the left-hand corner, that little cross thing. That doesn't recover on No Hope. But one thing should make things a little bit easier. In addition to having your 15 cards straight out the gate, there is also a bunch of cards that will spawn. There, I believe, is up to 3 cards that you can buy per No Hope level. And sometimes you'll get a bonus 4th one in the toolkit room. So keep some money ready. These cost 500 a piece, other than heavy attack. These cost 500 a piece, which will allow you to further build up your deck as you go. So you can scale pretty hard if you get lucky with some of the RNG on these cards. And then speaking of cards, there were some new corruption cards introduced with the Tunnels of Terror patch. One of which here is Pure Chaos. Now, I don't think Pure Chaos is a No Hope exclusive, but let's talk about Pure Chaos for a second. So what it does is it reduces your healing efficiency by 50%. That's what it says. It's actually more like 75%, which is why people are getting so upset about it, because it's doing more than it says. Also, large quantity of frags and molotovs appear on the map. The reason why that's important specifically for No Hope is typically on No Hope, no items spawn anywhere. You are not going to find a random molotov, a random bandage, a random razor wire. It just doesn't happen. Nothing. Unless you have a scavenger card or something like Bomb Squad or Pumped Up, nothing. Don't count on finding anything. The only way you're going to find items in No Hope is if you find a supply crate. Supply crates still exist, but unless there's a card modifier, you're not going to find items. Oh, by the way, you hear that? We should talk about that. Oh, God. Oh, another thing to keep in mind with No Hope before we go ahead and talk about that snitch we just heard is you see this copper pile? Hey, I was talking about that. Almost all of the copper piles in No Hope are only the small 25 copper piles. It's only supposed to be 25s, but some 50s sneak in there sometimes. It's only supposed to be small 25 copper piles, and there's supposed to be less of them in No Hope compared to Nightmare. And Nightmare on average spawned about 13 piles, and then you get up to 16 if you went to a safe room, 19 if you had copper scab. So presumably less than 13 on a No Hope level. Oh, snitches. This is what I wanted to talk about. These bad boys. So snitches are different in No Hope as well. Heads up, they don't stumble. No matter what you do, they're just not gonna stumble. You can't stumble them. It just, I could have blasted that guy with a sniper rifle. He ain't getting stumbled. That's one of the new changes with No Hope, so be ready for that. We're gonna die here. And another thing to know about the snitches in No Hope is that they have more HP. So I believe a Nightmare snitch has about 600 HP, and a No Hope snitch has about 960 HP. Oh, and there's the other thing that happens, the roaming bosses. Doesn't matter what level it is, you're gonna get a boss other than 1-4. So, in this case, we have the Hag, and it could be the Breaker, it could be the Ogre, and that's either going to be a monstrous or ferocious or regular boss depending on how far you are in the act. And on levels like 1-2 where you get a story Ogre, you better get ready to have also an additional boss. So you can get a Breaker or a Hag on top of that Ogre that you already had. So, it's back! The 1-1 bosses are here again! And during that whole time, you may have noticed that there was nobody spawning on the wall. So now let's talk a little bit more about some of the corruption cards you'll find later in the acts, including what I believe is a No Hope exclusive, the Blitzing. So if you don't know what Blitzing are, they are basically an even faster version of the common. Faster than sprinting. It used to be sprinting was the highest. Now we have Blitzing, and they look pretty terrifying. They hit really hard and they move really fast. So maybe I can walk out there and you can see how fast they move. Also, I don't believe these are a No Hope exclusive, but they are new to the update of Tunnels of Terror, which includes the Festering Ridden. And the Festering Ridden scale to have really high HP in No Hope, with like well over 100 HP. And to be clear, we were used to having Monstrous Common having 30 on Nightmare. So these guys will really mess up your day if you're not ready for them. So let's see how, oh God. So let's see if we can make some of these guys move real fast here. Come here, buddies. Oh God, there's your Blitzing for you. They do move much quicker than the sprinting ones did. Here, come on. Come charging at me. So if you're not on top of your punching game, they're going to swarm you and get around you, because one of the things that the AI does in this game from a commons perspective is that they do not, oh God, actually, oh, this is a really good example to show you something else. I was talking about how the snitches don't stumble. Well, allow me to show that to you. I actually have a purple bear here I can test that with. So Mr. Snitch, but yeah, from an AI perspective, the zombies try to wiggle around you rather than come at you in a straight line, which means you have to definitely be on top of your punching because they will try to surround you. But now if I hit this guy here, you see how he doesn't stumble? A purple Barret would stumble a snitch in any scenario, whether you have stumble on it or not. But again, in No Hope, they don't stumble. And you see how these guys try to get to the side of me, which is what I was just talking about here. They will try to surround you. That's part of how the AI works. And part of how things are so hard to hit sometimes. Fun fact about the Blitzing were actually supposed to be faster, but they tuned them down a little bit because they felt as though it would be too hard for players on console to hit them because they zigzag too much. So they toned them down so controllers could have a better shot at them. Let's take a look here at the No Hope thing where it says event difficulty hard. I'm kind of surprised it says hard on both of these. It should be very hard on this one because the events have a little bit more oomph to them, such as the sound of thunder. I think you need to fire 8 missiles instead of 7 that you have on Nightmare, and then also the mines blow up at different times, or they open up at different times on Sound of Thunder. And a trend that you'll see between a lot of these levels, like Blazing Trails or Garden Party or anything with nests, there tends to be an additional nest, or like, yeah, at the beginning of Act 2, there tends to be an additional nest, which means you have to either eat another wave or learn how to do the double counting thing, which we have a video for on the channel somewhere around here. Editing SwingPoynt here. A few more of these I remembered as I was editing. The T5 level has 16 crates instead of 12. The Hell's Bells windows, there's 12 windows to board up, so all of them instead of 6. Also, the pipe cleaner's gate. At the beginning of the level, the gate goes up and down. And this one's actually really interesting on No Hope. So that gate transition is actually much faster, so you gotta get in there fast. But that comes with the benefit of not having 2 hordes, because on Nightmare you would get a horde when it opens and a horde when it closes. On No Hope you only get 1 horde, but again, it opens up much faster. And one more thing I forgot to mention about No Hope is that the first aid cabinets, they no longer have a free heal, kind of like old Nightmare was. But now let's start talking about the really exciting part is how much more HP do these mutations have? You may have noticed they're quite tanky. How much more damage do they do? You may have noticed they hit you really hard. And I happen to have a brilliant resource for that, because you may or may not know that the Statty Discord is now gone. Statty has said that they're done updating the website. They got rid of their Discord. There's something going on where they don't want to be a part of these projects anymore. They have something going on in their personal life, and I'm going to respect that. So they're done. Statty's done. It's a part of the Back for Blood past and legacy, and now we had to go ahead and start coming up with numbers in a new group. So there's a Back for Blood stats Discord, and I worked with several other people to help figure out some of the numbers for No Hope, because there was some data mined information out there, and then there was some, I've played a little bit of this is kind of what I found, and then there was my experience, and all of us together really helped get some good, accurate things that we can tell you guys as to how things have changed with No Hope. And again, kudos to the folks that I personally worked with. This includes, oh my god, I hope I get these names right, K-Man-Den, which is the main person in charge of this calculator that I'm about to show you here, right here. This thing is amazing. I'm pretty sure they mastered this whole thing here, and we'll go into a little bit of the monsters tab of things. And then also Nyamion, I believe, was the data miner. Symbols and Bits is somebody who I've worked with for a long time, discovering little intricacies with the game here. And then also Sykes and Lightmare were helping contribute numbers as well. And then I also contributed my own numbers based off of some pixel measuring I was doing, and then just my own experience with No Hope. So what's really cool here is they have a giant calculator, and I'm not going to show you every single little thing about it, but if you want to, you can calculate just about anything Back for Blood, how much damage you do, how much damage over time you do, how much HP some of these monsters have, which is actually part of how I came in, because I was like, oh, Monstrous Bruiser on No Hope, they have a way more than 1700 HP. Let's get that fixed. So that's how we went down this huge conversation hole, and a bunch of cool things happened here. And then, by the way, I'll have this Google Doc in the description down below if you want to look at it for yourself. So now it's calculator time, and you're about to learn a lot of things about how things are different to No Hope, especially from the number side of things. So let's go over to Statty here, because this is really easy for you guys to see on a video. And by the way, you'll see at the top of the website, Statty is no longer updating, so the numbers here are not going to get updated with future changes to the game, but that doesn't mean the Nightmare numbers are wrong. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Bruiser as a really good example of how much the HP is going to scale in No Hope, because it gets kind of nuts. And by the way, just so you know, the way these numbers work is they take a base value of an HP, so from veteran actually, and then they run it through a multiplier, and then a multiplier, and then a multiplier, and then a multiplier based off of this difficulty here, that difficulty there, ferocious here, monstrous that. I'm not going to put you through all those different multipliers, because I think I'm going to lose some people if I do that. Instead, what we're going to do is I'm going to say, this is how much it is on Nightmare, this is how much it is on No Hope, this is how different it is. Okay? Going to try to make it really easy for y'all to digest. So let's work with the Bruiser here. If you take a Bruiser here on Nightmare, they have 1021 HP. So the way to find out how much a regular Bruiser has on No Hope is you'll take this 1021, and then you're going to multiply it by a value of 1.935. What that means is that a No Hope Bruiser has about 93% more HP. Now, give or take a percentage point here or there, this is about where it's at. So if you click that number with equals here, what you'll find out is a regular Bruiser, not a ferocious or a monstrous one, a regular Bruiser on No Hope has 1,975 HP. Way more than that 1,000 that we just saw here with a Nightmare Bruiser. That's how much more the difficulty scaled up. Now, keep in mind you have your 15 cards, but that's how much more it went up. Now, this actually gets more crazy the stronger the variant is. Meaning, if I take a Ferocious Bruiser here, so that's going to be 1,276 HP. Now, on No Hope, it scales more than that 93% that we saw with the standard here. It goes even higher. So instead, the number you're going to use is about 2.13. They have about 113 more percent than a Ferocious Nightmare Bruiser. Okay? So that means that a Ferocious No Hope Bruiser has about 2,719 HP. You'll see the scaling is even more aggressive on No Hope. That's what you're noticing here. Okay? And then for the monstrous, it scales even harder. So instead of 113% more, what you'll do is you'll multiply it by 2.256. About that. So it's actually like 126% more. And you'll get a number of about 3,455 HP on a Bruiser in No Hope, which is way more than the Nightmare Bruiser of 1,531. You want to know how much more HP that is? Let's do some quick rounded math here. That's about an extra 2,000 HP on that damn Bruiser. Just from Nightmare to No Hope. Okay? Now, the scaling doesn't just stop at the HP. It's also damage. Now, I could run you through a bunch of multipliers for damage and yada, 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 but again, gonna try to keep it simple. So let's use a tall boy as an example for damage. I believe a standard tall boy deals about 27 damage to you on Nightmare. So if he hits you over the head, 27 damage. Now, the difference between a Nightmare tall boy and a No Hope tall boy is nothing. They're the same for some reason. I don't think it was supposed to be that way, but that's how it turned out. I think that's an accident, meaning that they're probably going to fix it and they're probably going to buff them. But to reiterate, a standard tall boy on Nightmare is going to hit you for 27. A standard tall boy on No Hope is going to hit you for 27. Oops. But it's not oopsies when we get to Ferocious and Monstrous. So, in case you don't typically know how Ferocious and Monstrous work, the way they typically work is a Ferocious variant does 50% more damage than the standard, and then a Monstrous variant does 100% more damage than the standard. Okay? So, that would mean on Nightmare, a tall boy that is Ferocious is going to deal 50% more damage, meaning you take 27 times 1.5. And then on Nightmare, a Ferocious tall boy is going to deal about 40.5 damage to you, which is a pretty big chunk of damage. But it goes way higher on No Hope because No Hope has an additional 50% for the Ferocious variant. So that would mean that you would take the Nightmare value here and then multiply by 1.5 again. So that means a Ferocious tall boy on No Hope deals 60.7 damage anytime he hits you with the old club. Okay? So it scales even harder when we go to Monstrous. Okay? Now let's go back to our 27 because again, it's doubled. So if you start on Nightmare with a 27 swing from a tall boy and you go Monstrous, again, you double it because Monstrous do double the damage. Meaning that a Monstrous tall boy on Nightmare deals 54 damage. Now on No Hope, it goes up by another 70% from Nightmare. So a Monstrous tall boy on No Hope is actually gonna deal about 91.8 damage. So, and if you guys were watching on the stream a couple days ago, you saw I was trying to take hits from Monstrous tall boys, and it was alternating between 92 and 91, meaning that 91.8 works really well with our calculation. Also, what this means is keep in mind that a standard amount of HP is 100. So, if a Monstrous tall boy hits you, you're going to lose 92% of your HP if you don't have any damage resistance and you don't have any extra HP. So, stay away from the tall boys, man. They don't mess around. On top of the fact that they're really fast when they're monstrous. So, take this number set that I've given you for the HP or for the damage, and you can apply it to any of these creatures. It's going to be 93% more HP on standard. It's going to be no extra damage on standard. It's going to be 113% more HP on Ferocious, and then 50% more damage on Ferocious. It's going to be 126% more HP on Monstrous, and 70% more damage on Monstrous when you're comparing Nightmare to No Hope. Now you've learned a little bit about how much harder and how much different No Hope is compared to Nightmare. And one other thing I should bring up, because I totally forgot to, is this website here. I'm also going to put this in the description down below. You might be familiar with this site because it was the website that you could use to check your stats on PC. So you could see how many kills you've gotten on this written here, how many missions you did with this character here. You could track your SWAT progress on all your different cleaners. This website's existed for a while, and this website is also trying to kind of take over the role of Statty here, providing updated numbers. Now, that being said, currently, as of April 26 here, when I look at this, the written numbers are not accurate. We need to go ahead and get all these updated to accurately portray how a bruiser has 3.4k HP rather than 1.8. But I'm sure Maz has been talking closely with us here in the stats Discord. They're going to go ahead and get this fixed up probably within a day or so. And then this could be a good resource for you to check how much the written here have in terms of HP values. And then they'll probably also get things in here like the 960 HP on the Snitcher and the fact that they don't stumble in No Hope. All those little nuances that are different. And then in the meantime, if you want numbers right away, you can go ahead and take a look at this calculator that I'll also have linked in the description by Kmenden. I'm really hoping I'm getting your name right. And then Oh, one other thing I should mention here real quick is they did do some calculations for commons. I didn't do any of the stuff with the commons, but a lot of the folks that are working on it are really smart people, so we're going to trust what they have here. And what they have is festering listed at about 82.5, 105, 134, based off of if they're standard, ferocious, or monstrous. And then same with the common, they're also scaling up, because I think the common follow different scalings than the mutations do. So you'll have to go ahead and just use a completely different set of math, which I personally haven't touched at all. I was only working on mutations. So this is a big list of stuff. You just got to go to this thing here, and then there's a tab down here that says monsters, and you'll get some pretty up-to-date data on all of the different creatures in the game right now. So thank you guys. I hope this was educational and you were able to learn a thing or two. And again, big thank you to the folks I listed before for going ahead and helping with creating this calculator and working on the stats and data mining and yada, 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 because it helps the community out a ton. And then also I want to go ahead and end it with thanking Statty for all the work that they had did before they went ahead and basically retired from doing the stat stuff for Back 4 Blood, because they really set us up with a good foundation, made it so a bunch of people became interested in this kind of thing. And I think we should appreciate them for that. So thank you guys. You guys are awesome. I'll see you in the next video that we do around here. We stream just about every single night on twitch.tv/SwingPoynt if you want to go check that out in the description down below. Also, if you found this video helpful, please consider subscribing so that you can see more videos like this. And then also, if you want to contribute to the channel a little bit more, we have the members thing. You can click the join button down below. It costs like $1 a month to support this channel specifically. And yeah, that's it. Thank you guys. I'll see you in the next video that we do around here.